Welcome to this week's video. This week, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to do so much B-roll. I'm not going to do so much editing. It's kind of just going to be a conversation. I just want to get raw. I want to get real. There's something that's been on top of my mind that I've been dealing with and struggling with the last couple months. I started traveling 3 months ago, and it's about traveling, and it's about travel creators and influencers. And that's kind of what it's about, the influencer niche in the travel industry. But on the grand scheme of it, it's actually what we deal with in every industry, in every niche, in every area of our life. And it kind of stems from perception. I'm not saying that this is the truth. I'm not saying that, believe the words I'm saying. That's not at all what this video is about. This video is more so my kind of truth, what my truth is to me, because I realize that the more that I reflect on life in general, the more that I increase my awareness around certain topics that align with me and my values, I realize that my happiness increases. And that's kind of the point of this. Is I had this deep perception on what happiness and freedom meant to me. I actually believed that becoming a travel creator, traveling the world like all the time, always traveling, and becoming a digital nomad was happiness. And it was freedom. And I believed that for the longest time. I've been structuring my life and creating my life around that what I go to school for, what I study, what I learn, what I read, everything creates the life that allows me to travel to every single country, to travel every single day, and to just be a digital nomad, to work on the go. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years, creating that life for myself. And I put a lot of hard work and I've achieved that. But it's not happiness and it's not freedom. It's actually quite the opposite. And this is what has been really hard for me, is to, understand that and fight against that, because my ego has put me into a position where this is who I am. I am a creator. I am an explorer. I love to travel. I should create a business around traveling because I've created business in the past. I've done this kind of stuff, so why not become a travel creator? I've best positioned myself to do that. So I got all the gear. I got the drone, I got the mics, I got the iPhone 16, I got all the things that I need, the tools to become that travel creator. I have 10 years of knowledge and experience in the business side of things, and I have no reason not to. I understand it'll take a few years to just get better and better, in that niche, and I have no problem doing that. But it was an absolute crazy awakening, and I'm excited to share it with you. So I'm gonna put this in 2 levels. Level 1 is just talking about perception, happiness, and what's wrong with the travel industry, influencers, all that kind of stuff. And the second thing is just the environmental impact that it has on the planet and also on our mental wellness, our mental well-being, our mental health. So the first level was the challenge I had on my perception. So hear me out. And again, this is what I'm going through in terms of my perception on the travel niche, but this is actually kind of what's going on with our perception in everything that we live by and everything that we do. We consume, it could be through social media, it could be through TV, movies, podcasts, books, whatever. But if we fall too deep into that consumption and we don't reflect on it and we don't, we're not mindful about that consumption, we then believe it to be the truth. And I started following social media, travel creators and influencers literally since social media is a thing in like 2012 or whatever, like 10 years, 14 years ago. That's all I was consuming was travel content, because I love to explore, and I still do love to explore, but that's all I consumed. So for 10 years of my life, because I didn't have the awareness, that's all I programmed my mind to believe, was that traveling is the source of happiness and traveling is the source of freedom, and becoming a digital nomad is the only way I'll be happy. It's the way of life, because the way that they made it perceive on social media was like how glorified, how amazing it was. And it was, smiles and happiness and joy and freedom and so beautiful and so clear and clean and green and colors and culture, and it just seemed so rich and amazing. And I was like, I need and want this. So I started traveling at the age of 18. This is a little bit before social media became a thing. And like social media was around, but there wasn't the travel creators and influencers. Videos weren't as popular. It was like Instagram pictures and stuff. But I remember traveling when I was 18, so that was 12 years ago. And when I did my research, it was literally just Google. It was mostly just blogs, and it was Google, and it was like Google Maps, and like you're zooming in on places and you're trying to find spots, and you're just you're designing your plan and how you're going to do those 2-3 weeks. And it was a pure backpacking trip, and I did it alone. And it was so powerful because it was the whole process, the pre, the during, and the post. The pre of struggling, trying to figure out what to do. When you get there, you're discovering new things because you didn't come across your research and you found this waterfall and this hike. And you ask the locals like, hey, what do you recommend to do? And you do those things. So you're connecting with the locals. And then after, when you come back, you're like, wow, that was incredible. And I've now traveled to 24 countries, and I've been traveling for the last 12 years. And every time I travel, what I do is I grab the Google Maps and I zoom in on the places. And I just click on things. I click on photos on Google Maps. And that's kind of how I design my trip. But I've realized that that's not how some people travel. That's not how some people explore. I realized that there are two types of travelers. Again, this is my perception. This is how I see it. Could be completely wrong here. There are the travelers that like to explore. The travelers that like to see things in terms of meeting people, locals, ask them, hey, what do you recommend? What should we do? Whatever. And they travel and they explore. And they go on Google Maps and they zoom in. They kind of build out their own map, their own itinerary, random hikes, and they just do the exploring type of stuff. Not really a plan, but not really a plan. And I found that there is now a second layer of travelers. This is recent, like the last 5-ish years. And I call it the social media traveler, the TikTok traveler. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong about that in terms of like seeing a video and like, oh, those are cool spots, let me add that to my itinerary. But what I see a problem with it is thinking that that is the truth. Thinking that you see this video, top 5 beaches, this is the best place in the world, best. There's nothing wrong with this country, nothing wrong with this area. And you plan your trip strictly around videos you see, not upon your own research and not upon your own discovery of what traveling is. And this is where I struggle with the perception is we're perceived and believed on social media that traveling is so easy and clean and glamorous and beautiful. But the harsh truth of travel, it's nothing like that. It shouldn't be luxury and it shouldn't be glamorous and it shouldn't be all positive. Traveling is the hardest thing ever because it is so uncomfortable. You go in these places that you have no idea about and you meet these people that you have no idea who they are. And that's the beauty of it, because it tests you because you're so uncomfortable and it makes you uncomfortable. But that's where you discover so much about yourself. And I think traveling is such an internal thing. I think it's such a personal thing because you're just learning so much about who you are, your qualities, your strength, your weaknesses, and it tests your boundaries. And I find that social media has made traveling feel so comfortable and so safe. And this is what I struggle with because now this whole new layer of travelers requires this luxury style of traveling, this Western style of traveling, these high-end resorts and hotels and these high-end restaurants and Western food. And it steps away from the beauty of the local cuisine. It steps away from the beauty of local hostels or local homestays. I mean, not hostels, local homestays. And the hostel life is also usually ran by locals. But this new wave of travelers has now put so much pressure on these countries to deliver these high-end experiences because money speaks. Unfortunately, money talks. So these new travelers expect these things, and that's where they put their money. So now it attracts outside investors from other countries. And I'm mostly talking about Asia as an issue because it is now attracting these outside investors. They come into these type of countries and they just start disrupting the land and disrupting the locals and disrupting the communities. And that's the problem I have with these influencers and these creators, travel creators, is they post about all the beauty, all the outside, but they don't post about what's going on in the communities, what's going on with the locals, what's going on inside. So we go there expecting what we see on camera, the polished version, the edits, but we don't see the journey of the creator, the journey of the influencer, the struggles that they may have had or they may have navigated through, or the warning labels of like, hey, travel with love and care, travel with passion, travel with purpose, travel with intention. Say hi to the locals, smile at the locals, appreciate for them allowing you, not allowing you, obviously you're allowed, but just allowing you to be on their land. Now that it's their land, they don't own the land, but you know what I mean? Like, just appreciating them and smiling and waving. And at the same time, eat the local food because that's what's grown there. That's what they've been doing for hundreds of years. Stay in their homestay. That they've built that to allow you into their home and their homestays. And that's their source of income. Like, support local. And my problem is with these new wave of travelers is they support all these fancy perception labeled places, like everything that's just glamorified and put lipstick on. And it's just like all the money's going towards this now and not to the locals. So I know I'm saying a bunch of random things right now, but to summarize what I'm saying here is my perception was skewed and it was believed that traveling is the source of my happiness and traveling is the source of my freedom. And I tied that to it. And I recently discovered that it's not. And the reason why I discovered it's not because I reflect on what matters to me, what brings me happiness. And what brings me happiness is helping animals, taking care of animals. What brings me happiness is the planet, not having such a hard time and not plastic everywhere and just the planet being able to breathe. And also people following their joy and people being happy and people just not suffering. Like that's just what brings me happy. Those three things: animals, planet, people. And I realized that if I were to become a travel creator, which I created for a couple of weeks and I did a couple of vlogs, and I was so disconnected from it. And I realized that by being a creator, I'm affecting all those three things that really deeply matter to me. First thing, the animals. As an empath, before I get into the three things, traveling as an empath is also freaking hard. So if you're an empath and you're listening to this, I hear you, it's freaking hard. And if you're not an empath, I'm sure it's still hard. But as an empath, traveling and seeing all of the animals suffering, like the dogs on the street, where you can tell they haven't eaten in weeks. Some dogs are limping, like 20 to 40% of the dogs that I see are limping. Some dogs are blind, some dogs are this, like the dogs are suffering. Every day you see 5 to 10 dogs that are suffering, that are dying in the ditch, and people just continue to drive by because the locals are adapted to that. And I don't put blame on them because they've been programmed into this lifestyle that's normal. It's been normalized. So again, you can't blame any of them. So us as Westerners, I say as in if you are a Westerner listening, we come to this and it's like, it's not normal for us because at home we treat animals, as in dogs, not other animals, unfortunately. We treat dogs and cats better than we treat our own siblings, our own kids. Most of the time, we treat them better than we treat most people. And then we come here and it's like, holy shit, they're dying on the road. So as an empath, you see that, and especially as a vegan, you're walking on the street and you're seeing these animals, and it's like every day your heart is like getting ripped outside your soul, and you're like, I need to help this animal. And you just feel like you're indebted to this animal. You need to help them right now, today. And there's nothing else matters. And I was traveling with Sarah, and that's what Sarah's focus is. Like Sarah's a massive empath, and she helped, I think, 12 different animals. And she spent hundreds of dollars of her own money just helping animals, feeding them every day, bringing some to the clinic, like just giving her time and her energy to animals. And I love that, and I respect her so much for that. And then you have me, on the other hand, trying to shoot videos about, hey, come check out these cool beaches. Hey, come check out this country. Hey, come check this out. And not putting energy in the animals. And if I were to make a video strictly about the animal and only did videos about the animals, I don't know if that would get any traction. People unfortunately care about themselves. Now that's a bad thing, but just like, who wants to see, hey, check out these 10 dying animals? Like, there's other ways to raise awareness around it. I'm trying to navigate through that and how to do that. But it's a separation from creating travel content that people want to see on where they want to go and stuff. So I've been struggling with that. And then the second thing about the empath thing is just seeing like the humans suffering. And it's just so heartbreaking. Like, there's so much suffering going on. And what can we do about it? It's tough. So as an influencer or as a creator, it's hard to like the camera's facing this way, like check out this beautiness. But if you just take the camera and you flip it around, right, you see garbage everywhere. Like everywhere I go, there's garbage everywhere, plastic on the ocean, everywhere. Like it's just filled with garbage. And then you look at this beautiful building, but you turn around and you see, quote unquote, the slums. But you see like low quality living things. It's just like someone saw, like if all the creators and all the influencers like travel and then showed the whole 360 of what they're seeing, it wouldn't be such a glamorified thing. Like, people wouldn't be traveling the way that they travel. They'd be traveling more with love and hope and like going there and donating and giving their time and just traveling with intention. So I think just the way that creators have polished these videos and did heavy edits on how gorgeous traveling is, because yes, of course, the earth is beautiful. Of course, land is gorgeous. Of course, there's beautiful parts to every country. But what we've lost is the depth and the love of traveling to explore and meeting people, because all of the locals are absolutely amazing human beings. They're all amazing people. So every country you go to has its own specialty in the humans. The humans are beautiful. But when we go and we travel for the video and we travel for the content that we see, we no longer travel for the locals. We travel because we want to go to that island. We want to go to that mountain. We want to go to that view. We want to go there for the picture. We no longer want to go there to meet the locals. We no longer want to go there to meet the culture, the richness, to dig deep into conversation with random people. Because what I realized in the last couple of years of traveling is the shift in the locals and the shift in the travelers. The travelers are all on their phone. They go to this island, mountain, whatever, picture place, on their phone, take a picture, take a video. They're taking the content that they wanted to see because they saw it. So they're programmed and their perception is like, ooh, fun, cool, right? And then they leave the spot. They're not even present with the area. They're not even present with the environment. There's a massive influx of people in that area. And then they walk by the locals. They don't even say hi. They don't even smile. I realize and I notice a lot of people don't say hi or wave because, again, I don't want to call out countries, but like there are certain countries that's normalized in their country. They just walk on the street and they just, boom, walk straight, walk straight, walk straight. But in these Asian countries, that's not normal. They like to say hi, they like to wave, they like to, how are you doing? Like they like to talk and communicate. And I've noticed that over the years, like when I traveled a couple years ago, and I'll use Bali as an example because it's an easy example. I was just there. I don't want to use the word hate. I dislike Bali. The locals in the community and the people there are absolutely freaking amazing, best people in the world. The travelers and explorers that are now at that island have ruined the island and have made Bali a not so favorable place because they've traveled so much there. So now there's a big population of travelers, which has attracted Chinese investors and all these other investors to come invest money there. So now they build all these massive resorts and all these massive restaurants. So now all the money and all the people are going towards these areas. The locals are now being pushed out to the villages. They're building these big resorts where locals used to be. Now locals again being pushed out. Sounds familiar, eh? Always the locals, always the indigenous, always the people that have to get pushed out. So I got a little carried away there. I went on a rabbit hole. I guess to summarize this whole video, mindful travel. I think it's important. I don't want to say that travel creators are bad. I just want us to be more mindful when we consume the content. I unfollowed every single travel creator because I'm not tying my happiness and freedom to traveling. Traveling is something I'll always do and I'll always explore, but it's not something that is who I am, right? I am not a travel creator, nor do I want to be one. For 10 years, I wanted to be one. I'm stripping that identity away from me. And it's something that I held for so long. And I followed all these creators, and because I follow these creators, I felt this need and this want. I need to do this. And I lived my life for the next destination. I lived my life for the next country. And I never actually lived my life for me. And what that did was a lot of pain because my whole perception was based on this is what happiness is. And because my perception was based on that, my whole life got navigated to traveling. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities and a lot of things. And I wouldn't change anything because traveling the way I did, I learned so many lessons about myself, about cultures, about other people. That's why I highly recommend when you do travel to explore. Explore yourself, explore the people around you, and don't travel because you saw videos. Travel because you want to travel and you want to learn and get deep within yourself. Travel to be uncomfortable. Because one of the most painful things and hard things on the economy, on the planet, on animals, on yourself is luxury traveling. I'm going to use a quick example. So Hawaii, it's been 5 or 10 years. I went to Hawaii a long time ago, 10 years ago. No, 5 years ago. And when I went there, I met a lot of locals and I was talking to them, and they're trying to express and explain why people need to stop traveling Hawaii. And this has lots to blame on classic America, and has lots to blame on Westerners going there and expecting luxury travel. And this is where the damages of luxury travel create on countries and countries that live off the land. There's a lot of beautiful countries, a lot of islands, a lot of Asian islands that are self-sufficient. There's no importing or exporting. They live off the land. The fruit trees and the water and everything's just off the land. These luxury travelers now, the more that there are, the more that they demand more villas, more restaurants, because they get full, and then investors see that, they invest in more, they build more. But when they build these, it pushes the locals farther and farther. So in Hawaii, there's a massive problem still to this day. One, it raises the money, right? Because now supply and demand, right? Less supply, more demand, that increases money. So now the food is not affordable for the locals. So that's one problem. Second problem is now to build all these luxury places, these big pools and all this stuff requires a lot of money. I mean, it requires a lot of water. So now the water is becoming scarce. Now they're pushed to live in places that they can't really live because they haven't lived there, like in terms of like in the forest, like in the jungle. So now it's like they're just struggling and they're suffering. And like I noticed that in Bali, a lot of locals are suffering, and like it's not their fault. It is our fault. It's the fault of Westerners and expecting this luxury traveling and not just going there and living off the land like they live off the land and expecting more. Anyways, I'm digressing again. I guess that was the point of this video, is to just go on rants. And I'm kind of just sharing whatever is coming to my mind. And I know it's not organized. I know it's not structured. And I know there's no lipstick on it to make it beautifully packaged for you guys. So it may be a bit harder to consume, to follow my thoughts. But I guess to close it, what I'm going to do to move forward is I'm going to continue to raise awareness for myself, to continue to shape my perception, because we're all human. We're not born to know these things. And unfortunately, when we're born, the older we get, our brains are very malleable, so they get programmed easily. So it's not my fault. This is just what I consumed, and this is what I learned, and it's not your fault, and it's nobody's fault. Like, it's just what we learn. But it's our fault if we have awareness and we learn about it and not do anything about it. So what I'm going to do moving forward is, I was never going to be a luxury traveler and do that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to become a travel creator, because when I travel these beautiful places and like these luxury places, when I say luxury places, I mean like luxury in terms of richness of the people and the culture. So I shouldn't have used that word luxury because I was using it for other things earlier. But the richness of the people and the beautiness of the nature and the trees, I don't want people to travel there. And I'm not saying that I'm better than others. What I'm saying is I want you to discover it on your own. I want you to learn to find it on your own. I want you to go on Google Maps and like find it, talk to locals, and meet these secret spots, meet these secluded spots, but to keep it for yourself, because that's the whole point of traveling, is to discover it on your own. And it makes it so much better. And when you get there, to embrace, to be present, to enjoy the land, enjoy where you're stepping, and then sure, take a video, take a picture after. Cool, no problem. Like, of course, I post videos and pictures of my travels, of course. But you don't have to say like, this is the location, go here, do this. Like, no, like let them figure it out, let them find it. And if people ask you like, oh, where is that? Just say the country. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is, as I already did it, is like I said before, I'm just gonna unfollow all the travel creators, because unfortunately, it's not their fault necessarily. It's their fault in their own kind of sense, where maybe they lack the awareness, or maybe they don't know what they're doing or the damage they're causing. But in terms, it's not their fault that I'm consuming the content and I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. That's not their fault. That's my fault. And that's an important lesson for us to realize, that if we feel a certain way on social media, it's important to realize that and to do something about it. So I realized that travel creators are causing me a lot of mental disturbance and mental pain. And that's my problem. That's my fault. So I'm going to unfollow all of them, which I started and I already did. And I'm going to travel like I used to travel when I was younger, and go on Google Maps and just explore and meet locals and like, hey, where should I go? And just travel more sustainable, stay in homestays, eat at local spots, and support the locals, support the local communities when traveling. And there's nothing more powerful than that. And to not be a burden, to not cause so much damage on this planet, on the earth, and on the animals. When I see a dog, I'm going to help the dog. When I see animals, I'm going to help animals. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm going to do moving forward. I hope this video was valuable. I hope you gained something from it. Again, I apologize for being all over the place. If you made it this far, that means it must have connected, because I don't think a lot of people are going to make it this far. I already don't get a lot of views. So if anybody gets this far, interesting. That's cool. It's cool. That means we're friends. That's a good thing. I like that. And yeah, like what I'm going to focus on is just creating mindfulness content about mental health and raise awareness around mindfulness stuff. Because I think that's the most powerful thing. That's something that we can control. I can't control influencers, travel influencers. I can't control travel creators. That's something I can't control. But what I can control is my own self, my own happiness, my own level of experiencing life. So I'm just going to control that. I'm just going to deal with that. And yeah, have fun in the process. Anyways, I'm curious to see this video when I cut out all the fluff and I just kind of pack it together on what it looks like. But anyways, travel safe, travel mindfully, love yourself, love the planet, love the animals, love your friends, love the people you meet, and focus on your perception. Yeah. Peace.